In the shadow of ancient greatness, long before the shimmering minarets of Isfahan or the bustling bazaars of Tehran, there thrived an empire that would shape the destiny of the ancient world. The Persian Empire, or more precisely, a series of Persian empires, dominated the heart of Asia and extended their influence across 3 continents. From the dusty plains of Persepolis to the banks of the Nile and the shores of the Aegean, Persian rule was a mosaic of opulence, ambition, wisdom, and warfare. This is the story of the rise and fall of that majestic empire, beginning with a rebellious vassal named Cyrus and culminating in the echoes left behind by centuries of conquests, revolts, and renaissance. The spark of empire, Cyrus the Great, and the Achaemenid dynasty. The Persian Empire began with a spark, an unlikely revolt in 550 BCE led by a man named Cyrus, later known as Cyrus the Great. He was the leader of the Persians, a vassal people under the control of the powerful Median Empire. What started as a rebellion soon turned into an astonishing campaign of conquest. Cyrus first overthrew the Median king Astyages, his own grandfather, and then moved on to conquer the wealthy kingdom of Lydia in Asia Minor and the powerful Neo-Babylonian Empire. His conquest of Babylon in 539 BCE was not just a military feat, it was a masterstroke in diplomacy. He entered the city peacefully, honored local customs, and even allowed exiled peoples, like the Jews, to return to their homelands. Cyrus established the Achaemenid dynasty, named after his ancestor Achaemenes. He created an administrative system that became a model for future empires, with satraps, provincial governors, a royal road system, and respect for local customs and religions. This combination of tolerance and efficiency laid the foundation for an empire that would endure for centuries. The Cyrus Cylinder, often called the first charter of human rights, describes how Cyrus freed the Babylonians and restored temples and religious practices. It remains a symbol of enlightened rule to this day. Darius the Builder, order, roads, and glory. After a brief period of instability following Cyrus's death, Darius I, also known as Darius the Great, ascended the throne in 522 BCE. He was not Cyrus's son, but claimed descent from the same royal line. Darius' reign marked the high point of the Achaemenid Empire. Darius expanded the empire to its greatest territorial extent, stretching from the Indus Valley in the east to Thrace and Macedonia in the west, and from the Caucasus in the north to the Persian Gulf in the south. To govern this vast territory, he reformed the administrative structure, standardizing coinage, weights, and measures. He also commissioned the construction of a royal road stretching over 2,500 kilometers, allowing messages to travel across the empire in mere days. He established Persepolis as a ceremonial capital, a city of grand palaces, intricate reliefs, and monumental stairways. It was a city meant not just for governance, but to awe the world. The royal road had relay stations with fresh horses every 25 miles. Herodotus, the Greek historian, claimed that neither snow nor rain, nor heat, nor darkness of night prevents these couriers from completing their appointed course, a phrase later adapted by the US Postal Service. Persia versus Greece, the clash of titans. One of the most dramatic chapters in Persian history was its conflict with the Greek city-states. Darius I and his son Xerxes both sought to bring Greece into the empire, not just for expansion, but to quell rebellious influences that had stirred revolts in Ionia, a region under Persian control. In 490 BCE, Darius launched the first Persian invasion of Greece, but was famously defeated at the Battle of Marathon. A decade later, Xerxes led a second, much larger invasion. With an enormous army and navy, he crossed the Hellespont on pontoon bridges and burned Athens. However, the tide turned at the naval battle of Salamis and the subsequent land battle of Plataea. Though Persia remained a dominant power, the Greek wars exposed the limits of its reach and galvanized the Greek world, setting the stage for future confrontations. The Spartans' stand at Thermopylae, though a defeat, became legendary for the valor of King Leonidas and his 300 warriors who held off the massive Persian army for 3 days. The long decay from within. After Xerxes, the Persian Empire entered a period of slow decline, While still wealthy and influential, it faced increasing internal instability. Court intrigues, assassinations, and revolts plagued the empire. The satraps, once loyal administrators, often acted as independent rulers. Artaxerxes I, II, and III maintained relative peace and continued monumental building projects, but they could not reverse the erosion of central power. By the 4th century BCE, the empire was a shadow of its former glory. The discontent among the provinces, especially Egypt and Babylonia, became chronic. Meanwhile, a new threat was emerging from the west in the form of a young Macedonian king. Persian kings had a tradition of burying themselves in tombs carved into cliffs, like those at Nashi-Rustam. These tombs bore inscriptions about their achievements and were designed to be eternal testaments to their reign. Alexander's wrath, the fall of the Achaemenids. In 334 BCE, Alexander the Great crossed the Hellespont with a vision to conquer the Persian Empire and become the master of Asia. At first, few believed he could succeed. Yet within a few years, he would dismantle an empire that had stood for over 2 centuries. Alexander defeated Persian forces at Granicus, then Issus, and finally at Gaugamela in 331 BCE. Each battle showcased his military genius and exposed the weaknesses of the Persian army, which, though large, was disorganized and poorly led by Darius III. Darius III fled multiple times and was eventually betrayed and killed by his own satraps. Alexander entered Persepolis, the jewel of Persia, and in a symbolic act, allowed it to be burned, perhaps as retribution for Xerxes' destruction of Athens, or perhaps as a drunken miscalculation. Despite being a conqueror, Alexander adopted Persian customs, married a Persian noblewoman, and encouraged his men to do the same. He envisioned a fusion of East and West, a dream cut short by his early death. The Parthians and Sassanids, the phoenix rises again. Persian civilization did not end with Alexander. After the fragmentation of his empire, Persia fell under Seleucid rule. But by the 3rd century BCE, a new Persian dynasty, the Parthians, rose in the northeast. They reasserted Iranian identity and built a decentralized empire that often clashed with Rome. The Parthians were succeeded by the Sassanid Empire in 224 CE, which revived Achaemenid traditions and re-established a strong, centralized rule. Under kings like Shapur I and Khosrow I, Persia became a formidable power once more, rivaling the Roman and later the Byzantine empires. Zoroastrianism was institutionalized. Great cities like Ctesiphon flourished, and Persian art, science, and philosophy reached new heights. The Sassanid king Shapur captured the Roman Emperor Valerian in battle, a unique event in Roman-Persian conflicts. Valerian was reportedly used as a human footstool before dying in captivity. The Islamic conquest, a new era dawns. By the 7th century CE, the Sassanid Empire had grown weary from constant wars with Byzantium and internal decay. When Arab Muslim armies emerged from the Arabian Peninsula, Persia was vulnerable. The decisive battle at Al-Qadisiyah in 636 CE marked the beginning of the end. By 651 CE, the last Sassanid king, Yazdegerd III, was dead, and Persia had fallen under Islamic rule. Yet Persia did not vanish. Persian language, literature, and culture survived and thrived under Islamic caliphates. The fusion of Persian and Islamic traditions gave rise to a golden age of poetry, architecture, and philosophy. Many of the greatest Islamic scholars, poets, and scientists, like Rumi, Ferdowsi, Avicenna, Ibn Sina, and Al-Khwarizmi, were Persian, and they wrote in Persian or heavily Persianized Arabic. The eternal legacy of Persia. The Persian Empire may have risen and fallen, but its legacy is eternal. From the administrative genius of Darius to the cultural renaissance of the Sassanids, Persia influenced empires that followed, from Rome to the Ottoman Turks, from Islamic caliphates to modern Iran. Even today, the echoes of ancient Persia can be felt in language, art, governance, and the idea that empires, for all their grandeur, are made not just of power, but of vision, culture, and the ability to unite peoples. The tale of the Persian Empire is not just a chronicle of rise and fall. It is a testament to the resilience of a civilization that time and again transformed defeat into rebirth, and shadow into light.